Hi, in today's video I'm going to walk you through how I integrate hardware with Loopy Pro using MIDI sync and audio routing. Today I'll be showing you how I sync up the Synthstrom Deluge with Loopy Pro. However, you can apply the same concept to almost any hardware device that supports MIDI sync. In this example with the Deluge, we'll be using the USB connection to provide that MIDI sync between the Deluge and Loopy Pro. Later on in this video, we'll use MIDI DIN on my interface to sync up a different device. Let's come over to the table so you can see what's going on. So here we are at the table. Now I have everything connected through this USB hub here, which you can't really see. There's a lot going on in this rat's nest, but as you see the orange cable here, that's our USB going between the Deluge and the USB hub, which is then going into the iPad. Now the Deluge supports MIDI sync through USB as well as MIDI note data. Let's walk through setting up MIDI sync on the Deluge. Push Shift and hold Select for settings. This is your main menu. You'll come to, yes, right here is your MIDI settings. So you press down on the knob to select that. And there we are in clock. So let's go one more layer down. So we have in, out, and this third setting, which I'm not going to get into in this video. In will accept incoming MIDI clock, which is what you want. Depending on your device, these settings might differ a little bit in terminology, but you basically want to make sure that your hardware device is set to receive MIDI clock. In Loopy Pro, it's really pretty simple. You just go into your settings here. You go into synchronization, scroll down, and if your device supports MIDI sync, it should show up here. The Deluge shows up right here, and you just want to make sure that that is checked. Otherwise, it will not send synchronization to that device. Now, as you see above my Deluge on here, you can see that Scarlet 4i4 USB. That's my interface. And later in the video, we're going to send MIDI clock actually out of that interface through a MIDI DIN cable. So let's go ahead while we're in there. We're going to check that now. So this is all part of a bigger setup, as you can see. And everything's being controlled by the Launchpad Pro Mark III. We're just going to do a quick visual test here to make sure that the Deluge is receiving clock. When I push start here on the Launchpad, the transport in Loopy Pro will start, and you will see the playhead start to move across the Deluge. Here we go. And when I go to stop it, everything stops. I start it, everything starts. Perfect synchronization. Now, I did test this earlier today, and when I went to work, I actually left this all running. It did slightly drift out of sync after around 6 or 7 hours of being left running. I'm not concerned about that. That's not a real life scenario. Typically, your clock and your whole system isn't going to be running much longer than maybe 5 to 15 minutes if you're blending songs together. But typically, you're going to be stopping your clock actually much more often than that. So I don't see any problem with sync. So after I got done recording the footage for this video, I realized my audio had stopped recording about halfway through. So the rest of this might be just phone audio. Sorry about that, but it is what it is. I'm too lazy to redo it. So I've been thinking it'd be pretty cool to integrate this Boss VE-500 into my setup, giving me a great vocoder and also taking some load off from my iPad CPU. Let this handle the vocal processing. We would also want to run MIDI out of Loopy Pro into this to change presets. Let's see if it fits anywhere on my table. Every time I get these crazy ideas, it's always more work than I think it's going to be. So I've started. I've got my mic cable running down here into this hole, through and into the Boss VE-500. From there, I've got another mic cable coming out of the Boss, across under here, going all the way over here, and into the Focusrite interface. Now, I have to get power up to this, and we also have to get MIDI across from the Focusrite interface over here, all the way over here to the Boss. I gotta go find some stuff. Okay, so right now I've got everything kind of just haphazardly plugged in because I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to keep this in my setup. If I keep it in my setup, it's going to hide here underneath where the launch pad goes, and it should be just fine underneath here because it'll be getting MIDI control from Loopy Pro and I won't need to touch any of the buttons. Okay, there we go. I had to dim the lights here so you could see the screen on the Boss VE-500. We're going to go into settings and make sure it's set to receive MIDI. Go into menu, over to MIDI. Whoops, I'm still not used to the menu on this thing. Okay, MIDI. Sorry about that screen. Okay, so this is channel that it can receive on right now is 16. I'm going to change that. We'll leave it on 16. And then, so MIDI sync settings. We have auto MIDI sync. Oh, hey, look at this. This thing can receive MIDI sync through USB, which is freaking awesome. I actually, if I keep this in here, I might switch over to that method. But for this video, we will keep it on MIDI sync. So now, I'm going to start the clock on Loopy Pro and see if the BPM changes. And see that where it switched to MIDI? That means it's receiving clock, which is awesome. Let's do another thing here. We're going to go to my page B, which is where I have some widgets controlling some stuff. Let's go to this widget here, which is currently unused. I'm going to do a press action. Let's do a MIDI. Send MIDI message is what we want. Let's send it. Let's see what our target. Whoa, look at that. Loopy Pro crashed. Let's reopen it. That's very unusual, actually. Okay, let's do this again. Target. For our target, we want our interface, which is sending MIDI to our Boss VE-500. In your case, this could be anything. It could be a synthesizer, it could be a groove box, and the whole idea, it could be like an HX stomp. The whole idea is that your time-based effects will be in sync with Loopy Pro's clock, as well as being able to change presets with a widget or a clip action. Let's just try this. This is something I've never tried. So, message. We want to send a program change, a PC message. And as we remember, it was set to 16, so we're going to go over. There's my buddy Howard. We're going to go to channel 16 here. It's set for PC 0. We're going to see what that does. It should go to preset 0 if that's working properly. So I'm going to push this and I'm going to watch what happens on the Boss. It worked. It really worked. Check this out, guys. I'm just going to move. Sorry, got to dim my screen again. Okay. We're going to move this to some arbitrary preset. Doesn't really matter. There, we're on 55. Now I'm going to go over. I'm going to push my widget. Here we go. Boom. Check this out. We're on preset 1. So 0 coincides with 1, PC 0. PC 2 is going to coincide with preset 3 on here, and so on. That's the way that's the way this happens a lot. So that's super cool, guys, that works. And like I said, that should work for pretty much anything that receives a program change. Now, as far as this table here goes, this is something I'm trying this weekend to see if I actually want to take this beast out gigging with me. Before I had a much smaller, simpler, and simpler rig. However, this one's a lot more powerful, and actually it's a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit cleaner looking on stage because I have almost everything on one table, and my pedal board is significantly smaller. It's just some controllers. And then of course I have my guitar, and then I have my hand sonic here. Right now the cabling inside this table is a freaking nightmare. And if I'm going to keep this thing, I'm going to have to do a few modifications to the case. Going to have to do some cable management because these messy cables really bug me. So yeah, this table's a beast. Things seem to be working, and it's super fun, and everything is like right at my fingertips. It's really immediate. All my looping control here on the launch pad, my effects control with the MIDI fighter twister. The Deluge is somewhat new to me, and so far at this point it's probably blasphemy, but I'm just using it for drums, which it's super fun and really fast just to lay down sequenced drums with this, it's a nice augmentation to the live percussion and the hand sonic for me. I really like having that. So that's all I got for now. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or anything to add. Have a good day. Bye.